If you haven't already, please find a seat. There are plenty spare. And now we will have a roll call.
Thank you, convener, and good afternoon, members. So starting with those members in the chamber, just ask you to confirm your attendance by pressing the green button. Thank you, members. So if everybody in the chamber has voted, we'll close that vote now. Thank you. And then going around those members on Teams to confirm attendance, please. And I'll start with Councillor Baird.
Present. Okay.
Councillor Baldry.
Present.
Councillor Bruce.
Present.
Councillor Cameron.
Present.
Councillor Campbell Sinclair. Councillor Collier.
Present.
Sorry, Councillor Finlayson.
Present.
Councillor Gregg. Councillor Mrs. Jarvie. Councillor Johnston.
Here, thank you.
Councillor Jones.
I saw him.
Councillor Jones. Councillor Kraft.
Present.
Councillor Willie Mackay.
Here.
Councillor Isabel Mackenzie. Councillor Mackey.
Present.
Councillor McLennan.
Present.
Councillor Miller.
Present.
Councillor Polly Monroe.
Present.
Councillor Patterson.
Present, thank you.
Councillor Rosie. Councillor Sinclair. Councillor Stewart.
Councillor Sagers here.
Thank you, members.
Members, item 23 on your agenda is notices of motion. The first motion is signed by Councillor Butt. Councillor Butt is absent. Councillor McLean?
Thank you.
Actually, well, which one of the
This
two?
one.
I was actually put her hand up there, so.
You going to propose the motion? This council abhors the attack, killing, raping and kidnapping carried out by Hamas in Israel on the 7th of October 2023. This council is horrified and appalled by the excessive loss of life in Gaza since the Israeli attack on it. This council recognises the gravity of the 26th of January order by the International Court of Justice to the State of Israel regarding the right of the Palestinian people to protection from genocide. That this council acknowledges that the UK government, as a signatory to the 1948 Genocide Convention, is obliged to take all steps to prevent genocide and calls on the UK government to ensure that the State of Israel complies with the interim measures issued on the 26th of January by the ICJ. This council is further appalled by the spreading violence and killing spreading from Gaza across the Middle East. This council calls for a complete bilateral ceasefire, and Councillor Burt has written at the earliest opportunity. I think there are 2 amendments coming to change that, but we didn't have time beforehand. This council hopes that a 2-state solution for Israel and Palestine may emerge after subsequent international negotiations. Thank you.
Councillor McLean, Angela McLean.
Thank you, convener. Yes, members, no one can be in any doubt that what is taking place in Gaza right now is a humanitarian disaster. On the 7th of October, we all have watched the news to see and hear the graphic details of the horror of what one human can inflict on another. Innocent citizens going about their daily lives were killed and kidnapped. We can all agree that the first duty of every government is to defend its citizens and ensure those who have been kidnapped are returned safely to their families, and acknowledge the State of Israel's right to do so. However, what the world has witnessed in these past few months is what amounts to indiscriminate killing of women, children and men who were victims of this war called collateral damage. Members, over the last 2 years, we have witnessed how fragile democracy can be throughout the world. In Gaza, we have seen people starving, homeless, and families struggling to survive, while shelter, food, medical supplies, and water is held at the border. The world can only watch these daily struggles from the sidelines, while trying desperately to find safe routes into Gaza to help with humanitarian aid. While our motion today may be only words, I believe it is important that as a council, we reflect the views of the people of the Highlands, while we can hug our own families when we get home tonight and know they are safe. The residents of Gaza don't know if they will see the dawn. Their fate unimaginable to each of us here in Highland. I ask members to support the motion in the paper before us. Thank you.
Councillor Finney.
Thank you very much, convener. I will support this motion, or I will at least support the spirit of this motion. An MP recently was asked, what does a ceasefire achieve? And his reply was simple: it saves lives. So as we are discussing this, people are dying in Gaza. So saving lives cannot wait. And my contribution today would be to ask if you would consider changing the wording from at the earliest opportunity and integrate the words immediate and permanent. Thank you very much.
Are you accepting? Okay. No one else has indicated they wish to speak. So there is a motion. So the motion is carried.
Sorry, convener, I did.
Sorry, Margaret.
That's all right.
motion-
Sorry. Yeah,
the-
I will be very quick because it's only a couple of words, but I really felt I wanted to say them. As Robbie Burns wrote, man's inhumanity to man makes countless thousands suffer and tears. The suffering of these lovely people is different. This is millions that are suffering, not thousands, millions and millions. And we have to support this. And I thank the signers for putting it forward. Thank you.
It's already been passed, Margaret. So.
Oh, well, that's good. That's okay.
Members, motion number 2 is from Councillor Stewart, and Councillor Stewart, I believe, is not here. Okay. Councillor MacDonald?
Amendment. I'm sure you've all read that fine organ, the Lochaber Times, today already. And it has a brief interlude which says the Highlands and Islands communities are being asked their views on a plan to transform the Scottish food system. It goes on to say the Scottish Government is seeking views on its first ever Good Food Nation plan, which it says will address a range of food related issues from farm to fork and improve access to locally produced healthy food. As you will all know, it was the Liberal Party under William Gladstone who pushed through the Crofters Holding Act of 1886. As a nation, we have not made it easy for the Crofters. My family have had a hill sheep farm in Lochaber for hundreds of years, and my brother tells me that wool prices are not worth the cost of clipping them. Top black-faced lamb prices are about the same as they were at the auction mart when I was a boy. The nearest abattoir to Fort William is in Mull, and to Dunvegan it is in Dingwall. The legislation and subsequent costs of slaughtering your animal is prohibitive. It is illegal to slaughter and butcher sheep on your farm, although estate owners can do so with deer. Why? The curse of hill land, common grazing, is bracken, and only last year Scotland, not England, made it illegal to use the only effective method of controlling bracken, which was with the chemical Azulox. You will note how the hill land is increasingly smothered in bracken, which is also terrible for harbouring ticks. Thank you, the Green Run SNP government. Highland farmers get a fraction of the value of their livestock. It goes to the haulier, the East Coast farm that fattens the animal before sale, the slaughterhouse, and the retailer. Well, the non-farmers cry out, well, cut out the middleman, go straight to the consumer. That is easier said than done. In other countries, we have farmers markets and high streets. In Fort William, Highland Council charges £840 to allow a farmers market. During COVID times, the Chamber of Commerce paid to have 3 farmers markets one summer in the town. A huge success. Wouldn't it be great if Highland Council helped our farmers to sell direct to the consumers? Locals love farmers markets. Tourists love farmers markets, and farmers would make far more money. We worry about depopulation on the west. 45% of active crofters are over 65, and more crofters are over 80 than under 40. We worry about air miles and sucking in food from overseas. Britain imports 46% of our food. Perhaps in the Highlands, we import 70%. We don't help our own farmers in this respect. They get grants not to have livestock. What can our council really do to help crofters and hill farmers in the West? They are the mainstay of Gaelic. They withhold much of our fiddling, piping and singing heritage. Yet we put every obstacle in the way to stop them thriving. I ask you to support Rory Stewart's motion. Thank you.
So here is my conundrum. You claim you're proposing an amendment.
An addition.
That's an amendment.
Yes, it's my.
It's an amendment to Councillor Stewart's motion. So unless someone else proposes Councillor Stewart's motion, Councillor Christie.
Yeah, I'll formally move the motion as laid out in the name of Councillor Stewart.
Okay.
And look for a second.
It's got a second. So you have an amendment.
No, I don't. I'm supporting his motion.
No, you don't. You, if you're proposing an amendment to what? You're proposing, and that's the end of the. You're proposing an amendment to the motion.
Okay.
And you're looking for a seconder.
Thank you.
Okay. And can you stick the amendment in the chat, please?
No.
I accepted the amendment. Whatever.
No, 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 no. Hold on, I've got, okay, just calm down. So you're either going to have to write it out and bring it up, and we're quite happy with that. If you just write it out long
I've
and
got
if
it
necessary. Kate, I've got you.
I've got it written down.
Right, that's fine. Can you bring it up?
Thank you.
Councillor Willis.
Thank you, convener. I would like to propose an amendment, and I've just put it in Teams for so everyone can see it. So I'd like to thank councillors Stewart and MacDonald for bringing this motion to council. Basically, what they're proposing in their motion is covered in the objectives of the Scottish Government's Good Food Nation plan and their Good Food Nation bill. So council is already working with the Highland Good Food Partnership to progress development of a Highland Good Food Nation plan. So therefore, I've proposed the amendment that has been put in Teams. The Scottish Government has a vision that by 2025, Scotland will be a good food nation, where people from every walk of life will take pride and pleasure in and benefit from the food they produce, buy, cook, serve, and eat every day. The plan is the first of many steps to transform the food system in Scotland. So the bill requires Scottish ministers and certain public bodies to create good food nation plans. And currently the relevant authorities identified in the bill are health boards and local authorities. So hence the amendment that I'm proposing, because the Good Food Nation plan covers what was in the original motion. So I think I'll leave it at that. Oh, and it's my amendment has been seconded by Councillor Aitken. Thank you. I'll put it's as it's
Right, we'll just have your amendment read out.
I call for Highland Council to consider what can be done to improve the opportunity for local buying to help crofters and other producers in the Highlands.
Is that in addition to the first bit? Okay, right. Now I get it. And now do the movers of the motion accept that or not?
I think the amendment from Kate and the sentiment from Angus and the original one from Rory, you know, I think they all represent what we want to do. I think Kate's actually takes away some of the things the first one. I don't know if we can just agree that we're all on the same page and we just refine the wording, because I think But
I'm sorry,
Could
I'll
we do the little-
do that.
give me a fence to stand on. I'm always happy on a fence.
Right, so do you, basically, do you accept Angus's amendment or not? Right, okay. Councillor Bremner.
I think the amendment that has been brought by Councillor Wallace is a practical and sensible amendment. And I believe that your amendment was actually looking to replace the second paragraph there because your amendment is far more practical. I think that it's far more practical. I'm going with your amendment.
Yeah,
I'd like to move the amendment, convener, that we take the motion, Angus's, and we add on Kate's at the end. That's my amendment.
so you've got another amendment?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, don't be ridiculous.
Convener,
Look, I think we're on the same page. I'll accept Kate's amendment because I think the sentiment is the same in them all. So I'm quite happy with that.
And Angus, are you quite happy with that? So Callum, do you still want,
no, I don't, convener. No.
bearing in mind that there is now only a motion, that's accepted. Thank you. Oh, you're driving me to an early grave. Motion number 3 is from Councillor Balance. Chris.
Thank you very much. And what could be more boring after that than a power of general competence? It's nerdy. God, it's just like the Greens. But it's not. Actually, this is potentially transformative and it can change, real change to local democracy and local councils. Put simply, at the moment, councils cannot do anything unless they are specifically empowered to in legislation. The power of general competence allows council to do anything unless it is specifically prohibited in legislation. That is an immense change. So, for example, we're about to debate the illogical fact that under the transient visitor levy, mobile home users will pay a pet tax if they use official sites, but not if they park at the side of the road. With the power of general competence, Highland Council could introduce a Highland power to address that here in the Highlands, to enable us to enforce motorhome owners parking at the side of the road to pay their due tax. And the Deputy First Minister announced in last month's budget that she would investigate it. This motion authorises the leader to lobby directly and through COSLA with the full support of Highland Council to ensure that that investigation happens and it produces positive and early results and legislation. I would hope that we can all support local decision making and we'll go for 3 in a row, 3 unanimous motions. Let's hope. The Lib Dems pride themselves on being the party of localism. Derek Loudon was saying after I'd put in this motion last month that the leader has already been supportive of the concept, and the Conservatives passed the Localism Act at Westminster in 2011. And although there were problems with that legislation, there are problems which we can learn on to produce a Scottish Act which understands and obviates what went wrong there. I hope that our independent members will support giving Highland Council more powers to act according to the interests of the Highlands and not only according to what the Central Belt allows. The powers of local government have been constantly eroded by the courts over the past 20 years, and this legislation, if it is introduced and passed by the Scottish Government as quickly as possible, will redress that. And I hope the motion here will put Highland Council fully and unanimously behind this move. So I move the motion in optimism. Thank you.
Councillor Christie.
Thank you. I think we can all support the sentiments of this. It's just a pity that the devolved administration is 13 years behind what's actually available in England. And that could have been a game changer had we got this I can't remember how many years ago it was, convener, that the redesign board looked at electricity and energy to be an energy provider. And we were stopped by the government because we didn't have the power to do it. But with this, we could have done it. And then perhaps on the 29th of February, we wouldn't have had some of the horrendous decisions that we all had put before us. So this really is the future. This could be the game changer for Caithness, for Loch Arbor, for Nairn, for Inverness. This could actually change things totally for this region, and we should be pushing this really, really hard to get this through, lobbying at COSLA, pressurising MSPs, raising it at every opportunity we can, because this will make a difference for us. So I'm quite happy to be associated with the motion.
Ms McLean.
Thank you. Not against principle, I just would like a bit of clarity on who decides what activities have caused harm to our land or disbenefits our people, and is that at an area level or is it just fully a Highland Council? Where does that decision, and don't see in here, but who, and is it only disadvantage?
I don't think anyone can answer you that question because it's a motion before council. It's worded as it is. Is anyone otherwise minded? Motion is carried.
So thank you, convener, and just to make members aware that Councillor Oldham is also declaring an interest in this item as the owner of a camper van, and he will leave the meeting. Thank you.
Motion number 4 is from Councillor Willett.
Thank you, convener. I would like to move my motion, and Councillor Balance has seconded it. An estimated 200,000 motorhomes visit the Highlands every year. Already, many do not stay overnight in caravan sites. This is partly because Highland does not currently have the facilities to deal with the volume of motorhomes and camper vans visiting the area. Anecdotal evidence indicates that for every night staying on a campsite, 2 or 3 nights will be spent off-site in a car park, lay-by, or other non-payment area. Will the number of nights spent off-site increase further if the tourist levy is only charged to those staying at a campsite? Possibly, yes. Due to the end of the NatureScot Places for People funding, there will be no Highland Council seasonal rangers this year. Without the presence of rangers patrolling our tourist hotspots, problems of inappropriate parking, roadside camping, and inappropriate behaviours such as littering, toileting, fire setting, etc., are going to be further exacerbated. The inclusion of motorhomes and camper vans in the tourist levy, not just those staying at a campsite, would generate considerable revenue for Highland Council. This revenue could then be used to provide adequate facilities, infrastructure, and services which would improve the visitor experience and the lives of Highland residents. The revenue could also be used to rebuild the Highland Council Ranger team and to supplement the team with seasonal rangers during the tourist season. Yes, the levy may be harder to implement for motorhomes and camper vans not staying in campsites, but given the technological age we are living in, surely it is not impossible. The decision as to what is and is not included in the tourist levy should ultimately be a decision for local authorities to make, as would be the case if Holyrood legislates for the power of general competence. Thank you. I move the motion.
Councillor Fraser.
Thank you very much. Absolutely happy with the motion and support it. But we were talking earlier about trying to make our council meetings more efficient. This is work that's already been going on by the administration for quite some time. And I think maybe when we're looking at future motions, it's worth seeing, do they actually bring anything new to the table? Thank you.
Councillor Mack.
Thank you, convener. As an ex motorhome owner, I would have no objection to paying my way. My major problem with this is how's it going to be implemented? Who is going to collect it at the roadside? If you're taking your camper van or indeed your tent, let's not forget the mess that they leave behind as well. If you take that into a campsite, you can't charge them there. You can charge the campsite for everybody that comes in. If they stop on the North Coast 500 outside Melnix, you're never going to get money from them unless you have people wandering around. This is a case of having a rule, but not thinking it all the way through as to how we're going to get anything from it. It's good. I've got to compare. How about a bottle return scheme? Another half-baked idea where it wasn't thought all the way through. And this is what this is. Go away and come back with some idea as to how we're going to get anything from it. Otherwise, it's just good intentions and not much else.
Yes, Councillor Fraser.
Yeah, we get them in there, and to be quite honest, they don't do any harm or damage. They do use our car parks, but they hide away. Some areas they are causing problems. If you are pushing this forward, the only thing I say, I'd like a local. This is a regional request, a motion. You got to break it down to local areas if you're going to bring this and enforce it. Because quite honestly, I don't want to see this being necessarily enforced in Nairn. That's my point.
Councillor MacDonald.
Thing number one. The current voluntary proposals have of £40, I think makes no sense at all. Firstly, it disadvantages the campsites, who people would otherwise go to stay in. It drives the camper vans into lay-bys with the accompanying littering and waste, and it reduces the revenue to Highland Council from visitor tax. So if Kate is right about the 200,000, that is £8 million a year of potential revenue. We do know that in many places in the world, you get a carnet, like a tax disc, which goes in the front of the car, which we could use for evidence. And that happens all over Switzerland, for example. So I think that would be a good way of doing it. Furthermore, we also know that camper vans and caravans have a much reduced expenditure when they come to visit us. So they buy in the supermarkets and they spend far less than the average visitor in the Highlands. Yet they fill up the Calmac ferries to a considerable extent to the disadvantage of the locals. And they benefit from the road equivalent pricing. So they're paying a much lower rate than the real cost of moving it out. So effectively, Scottish taxpayers are subsidising caravanners to fill up our ferries and not allow space for the locals or high-spending visitors. And I have an amendment to the motion, which is that all vehicles of sleeping accommodation, i.e. caravans and camper vans, are required to have a carnet or disc displayed in the windscreen to verify that a £40 tourist tax has been paid via the Highland Council website. This would authorise that vehicle to travel in the Highland region for a week or part thereof. Furthermore, these vehicles will no longer be entitled to the low price road equivalent tariff on Caledonian and McBrain ferries. Thank you.
Do you have a seconder for that?
I'm Alex Graham, if he's awake. Thank you.
Councillor McPhail.
Thank you, convener. Yeah, a couple of issues with this this motion. One is that many people have condensed their own use of cars into one vehicle. And if you find that there's a camper van, so the most popular camper van is a Volkswagen camper van, and now Hyundai do a very compact camper van. So it could well be the case that a family gets rid of two vehicles and moves into one. And it means that we use that for our everyday work. And I know of a local doctor who does that, and that's their family vehicle. But at weekends, they can do more things, they can go outdoors, and they can actually go and spend time away. In terms of the Calmac ferries, last year we had a family reunion in Benbecula, on the island of Benbecula, and a couple of family members had taken motorhomes so that they could stay, because there was no accommodation at all that could be had on the island. So these are people who are actually Scottish people, but going to visit their own families, and there was no beds to be had in the whole of Benbecula and South Uist. So they actually took motorhomes to come there. So I think that we could have an unintended consequence of spoiling a good season. They had a bad season last year because of the reliability of the ferries, and many people, for the first time ever, they had vacancies in beds for the week or the fortnight of the Glasgow Fair, unheard of going back 40 years. And that was because the public's perception was ferries were unreliable, you could be stuck on an island, and remember, if everybody else has booked the next slot, you could be stranded there for the next 3, 4, 5 days, not get back to your place of work or back home. So we need to be very careful that we don't kill the goose that lays golden eggs every year in our communities. I've run garages and filling stations love motorhomes. They love caravans. They love tourists. They love them all coming to the north because it brings revenue. And Councillor MacDonald makes the point that these people don't spend a lot of money here. Well, I would draw your attention to the fact that the average price to hire a motorhome in Inverness, a short distance from here, is £1,000 to £1,100 per week. And the people that are spending £1,000 to £1,100 per week on their holiday for their accommodation, it's not their last £1,000 they're spending. Okay, what do you do when you go on holiday? Do you live on homemade sandwiches the entire holiday? I don't know if you do. I remember in Malig when they got the new marina there, they said, "Oh, this will kill local businesses because all these yachts are going to come up here, park at the marina, and then eat sandwiches." And then the local restaurant said, "We're inundated with people because these people are cash rich and time poor, and they all want to spend money and go to the best seafood restaurants, taste our local produce." And one of the local companies said, "My car hire business has gone through the roof since they put the boating marinas in at Malig." So be very careful what you wish for here. Everything has a knock-on effect. Yes, it's going to be a challenge how you collect £40, but are we going to be doubly taxing our own people, our own families, our own people here? If you're
Councillor McPherson, you have to wind up now.
yeah, okay. If you're coming to Inverness, £250 a night, you'll pay for a travel lodge in the
That
summer.
means, that means now.
So you could get a motorhome for £1,000. Thank you.
Angus, I don't think your motion is competent. Amendment, sorry. On the basis that you are basically instructing CalMac to make charges that we have no control over. I'm dubious about the first part.
Would it be competent writing to them to ask them to reconsider road equipment pricing for visiting camper vans?
I suppose that technically we could write to CalMac, but I'm not convinced. It would certainly need to be extensively reworded.
So leave out the CalMac. Okay. Okay, I'll withdraw my amendment.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Gill.
Thank you, Convener. I'll try not to drag this out anymore. I think the whole motion to me is flawed. Apart from anything else, we have a number of local residents in the Highlands who own camper vans, and how do we define if you're a tourist or not? If you live in Inverness, you own a camper van, you drive to Port William, are you a tourist? So you have to pay your tourist levy. So how do we actually differentiate between the two? There's no way we can do that. Collecting this revenue would be so difficult to do. We'd have to have people driving around, increasing their carbon footprint, just to catch people out and checking individual motorhomes. The whole thing is totally flawed, and I can't support it. Thank you.
Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Convener. I wasn't going to speak at all, but one or two of previous speakers have inspired me. I just don't quite understand the sort of direction of travel, shall we say, when they're talking of all this about ferries, etc. We only have one ferry in the Highland Council area, and that's the Curran ferry. I never thought I would ever use that word, but there we are. I fully support this motion. I think it's fantastic. if I recall correctly, I think it was at the infrastructure committee for 3 months alone during the height of last summer on Skye. There were 2,300, I think it was, camper vans parked at the sides of the road, which is quite incredible. I think that our officials have some useful ideas of how to collect a council a tax from these mobile homes. And certainly here on Skye, we have an excellent position, is that we have a couple of three exit points and three access points to Skye. So we have a perfect reasonable system of how to collect the money with our particular area, at least. I think this is certainly worth pursuing with the Scottish Government. I think to exclude these vehicles from a tourist tax is unfair on the bed and breakfast and hotels who have to collect it, etc. And all the various other hospitality things like pods, etc., who will be liable for this tax. I think this motion is excellent. It's worth it, certainly exerting pressure on the Scottish Government to rethink their position. And I'm sure within Highland we have the excellent officers with the capabilities to come up with some really good ideas on how to collect the tax from these said vehicles. So I fully support the motion. Thank you.
Councillor Brennan.
Couldn't have said it better, but I'll just re-emphasise the fact that this motion, as I understand it, is asking us to write to Scottish ministers. It's not asking us to do anything other than that. Asking Scottish ministers to devolve the tourist tax to us. We've just passed a motion there saying that we want to do that. That kind of stuff is what we want to do. This is what this motion says is one of the things that would be under that. I don't see anything wrong with that. Absolutely not. Then when it comes to us, we'll decide then who gets taxed and how it gets taxed. So there's we can then, you know, debate the vagaries of it all. But before that, we need the power of competence with us for this. Thanks.
Councillor Atkin.
Weirdly, that is exactly what I was about to say. So telepathy. So I don't need to speak. Thank you.
Councillor Johnson.
Sorry, I was going to say pretty much the same thing. The only addition I was going to say was we would also need to think about what identifies a tourist, whether that be, because at the end of the day, we do have local people who wild camp, whether it be scout groups, youth groups, and we also have locals with these types of equipment. But other than that, yes, Councillor Bremner's just said my exact thoughts.
Well, members, I have to say that a week ago, in fact, no more than 7 days ago, I had a lengthy conversation with the relevant government minister, and who were very supportive of the idea that councils are allowed to charge for camper vans, etc. And they will try and bring a mechanism forward that will allow us to do that. It won't impose on us any requirement that we have to do it. It will be up to the council to decide. So I'll be supporting the motion. We have a motion, but we don't have an amendment. Okay, motion is carried. Thank you very much. I hope you all enjoyed your 2 days in the chamber, and please think about some bright ideas how we can cut it down. Thank you. Safe journey home, and please take your rubbish with you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks,
Thank
Chair.
you. Bye. My rubbish is at home.